My dear YouTube community, thank you for all the comments I've been receiving under the YouTube videos titled with Narcissistic Mother. I had no idea the impact it would have on my really recent channel, and how impacted you as women. Right now there were mainly women responding to me and commenting under the videos, but I know it's also men, it's just different, have been impacted by this entire craziness. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, about my path, about my way, just a little bit for you to understand, and also a more recent part of my story. It was in '96 that I came out of a domestic violence short marriage, civil marriage of a year and a half or something. I would say what I learned afterwards, there was nothing. Though people would say to me, Christina, why you? We know you as this totally empowered woman. I was always like a leader, always engaged in communities. But when I got out of this marriage, I thought, what do I have to do with that here? And that's what everybody was reflecting to me back then. And I understood that it was me who had pulled this person into my life. I got into therapy with a wonderful psychologist. I love her, Catherine, and she just put my head straight. She just explained me all the dynamics of violence. And I also remember this one person in that community where the therapy was taking place. She said, if somebody tells you are egoistic, it is because this person wants something from you what you don't want to give. So it wasn't so much in this context for me, but it always stuck to me. And I remember it today when I'm reading all the comments about all you women and men having passed through childhoods with narcissistic mothers. So my path was very diversified. First, I decided I'm going to go and study, and I'm going to become a psychologist. I was a biologist and photographer back then, and I decided this is worth it. I want to do this because I need to bring the message out to the people, having come out of their domestic violence context. So it took me quite some years until I could start again over with my psychology studies, and I was finished in 2006. Parts in Germany and parts back then in Costa Rica. And I was going a way of first serving the communities of domestic violence. Obviously, I worked much with women, obviously. It was what probably I pulled, or where the domestic violence is most treated. Should I say, unfortunately? Let's keep on talking. Later, their children were brought to me, and we were having all these really heartbreaking cases, and children come up and children come forward, but they're always coming forward and up as much as the adults around them are healing. This is my point of view, because they are modeling people and they get it. Also, I have had in my healing courses many women who are in healthy relationships or marriages, and they would always comment that their husbands, although they didn't go to the groups because they were back then only women groups, but their husbands were healing with them. So this is very crucial also to understand the dynamics of what I give out energetically towards my children, towards my husband, towards the abusers, and obviously towards myself and other people also. It can also happen in the work context. They're everywhere. There's everywhere people who would love to violate your boundaries. Put it just like this, simple. Boundaries. Put it like boundaries. Only, I love you much, all. Only because you don't have them up. It will always be your task to only from now on watch for yourself. Be good, and you'll be good for everybody. Take care of yourself, of this inner child. Anyways, there were coming more and more children into my courses, or into individual attention. I also did courses with like kind of orphanages where the girls, it was girls back then, came out of, context of domestic violence or violence of marginalized communities, like highly on psychiatric drugs, which was really, this was heart-wrenching for me, but I anyways did it. But yes, there were coming more and more children to me who had to grow up in this context and who were still little. Some were still in violent contexts or texts, or inside of the community or in the neighborhood, or the family was still saturated with these kind of people. But they come up, they come out of it, they learn, and they learn as much as the adults who are around them learn. And if just one adult is around and teaches them, I often have the mothers, and if the mother wants to go the 9 yards, because it's not easy to heal, it's not an easy task, you're going to be held back from all over the place, then they will heal too. And later on, when I started my private practice, when I wasn't that involved anymore in the community work, or like more like this exclusively, I had more and more men in my psychological attention, and it was also hard for them. I know that, and they had lived it too, and they are just going their own ways, which we know, which is a man's ways of dealing with emotional stress and distress, or a woman's way, which are very different in all. If I would want to put it in 2 words, which would maybe be being not just to one or the other person, but the tendency for us women is no longer giving our heart, no longer being this nest for or a man or our children or the people around us, and being usually verbally abusive, and the man's side is usually developing, they can develop aggression and being aggressors and all this kind of stuff, but sometimes it gets confused with them having to deal in putting boundaries in a way they weren't able to do. I don't want to like cover any aggressive behavior or narcissistic behavior, please don't get me wrong, but I have heard both stories also in marriages, and I know the stories which are being told by women and the stories which are being told by men, and I can totally relate to this. I can also relate to this because I do have a narcissistic mother, and most of the time I was just dealing with this on a level of emotional abuse. So this is where I grew up in how I understood dynamics. And men have, jumping again back, men are very likely to live this not only over withdrawal and over inclusively depression, or being like pushed into victim positions in their workspace, in their communities, and inclusively in their marriages, but also obviously through their emotional expression, which is their sexuality. Okay, I'm not gonna go so really deep into this because the video wasn't made for that, but there is much of a pattern, you know, which is for us women to not being this nest, to not being emotionally open and vulnerable because of being hurt so much, at the same time being also the same kind of aggressive as a man can be, the same kind of aggressive. Don't categorize me now, please. And men are more likely to escape in their emotionality towards work, obviously, and withdrawal, and through sexuality, you know, like hidden sexual practices, and this is a safe space for them, but I don't want to like right now like really categorize it that way. What I really wanted to say is, it broke my heart reading all those comments coming in here. I've been posting now for just 4-5 days or something, more on, not even on accident. It wasn't even on accident, you know. My first video on narcissistic mothers, and the story I wanted to tell wasn't all what I've been coming from right now here, but that in this process of opening my online business in 2020, starting up with this, I having been before like a licensed psychologist. I've been a director of a psychiatric center for the last 7 years here in Germany, and wanting to open this online business, I was much confronted with issues of self-love and confidence and all these self-worth issues, which I hadn't known of, because as I said, I was really like a community leader and always, you know, like getting in and doing it, like this go-getter mentality. And this all was changing at the point when I knew I had to get out into the world. So I had the fortune to get into a course with a narcissistic woman who worked with me all kinds of blockages I had. And at some point I went out of this course and I was just like combating my mom, you know, at that point. And I understood that it was her in my head, which with her critique popped up again after 10-15 years having worked the entire issue, you know, with her, being her the one who was holding me back. So I was freeing myself that night or that evening from this influence. My inner self understood that. The next day, this narcissistic coach, or oh, God bless her, really, called me and said this energetically doesn't work anymore with us too. So she would release me out of this course, and I could relate to this. I understood this, and I knew it was a good way for me to go now. And the day, I tell you this trippy thing, the day I was about to start my first video about narcissistic mothers, my very first video, which is now around 5 days or something ago, my mother called me. I was about to click on with this microphone, you know, to start taping, and she called me, and would just be like some classical music in the background, and I thought that was so trippy and spooky. It tripped me so out. I just want to tell you women who have all answered, in the comment section, and it's also men, I know, it's also men. I'm having these men in my private practice. I just want to tell you this is real. I just want to tell you that you are not crazy. I want to tell you, you are talking about these like horrific things, how you're really terrorized by, as an adult, I don't know how old you all are, it doesn't say, completely terrorized by an adult woman, mother, narcissistic mother, or remembering the time and acknowledging the the pain and the damage it caused on your soul. Let's put it like this. I just want to tell you that you can heal. It is possible to heal. I also want to tell you, whichever measures are necessary to, one after another, build up your boundaries, your self-esteem, your self-love, getting back this pieced psyche, this pieced soul, and getting things again back together into place. It is never too late. You can always, always, always do it. There's so many women and men who have given their testimony by becoming also professionals, on how healing is possible. And I know you were commenting inclusively on men being around and or your husbands, and these men, not regularly. I know we get both sides of the stick, I call it, like the aloof part and the aggressive or narcissistic part. But a part of you are gonna be, or will be, choosing men in your life, and many narcissistic mothers will, who are aloof, who are a little bit easygoing, who have all the traits she doesn't have, or your mother didn't have, to have it like a healthy counterpart to the extreme abuse, craziness, and all this, which all shakes everything up every day. And having somebody who really feels really grounded, feels really calm, feels really steady, feels like not being able to be really brought up. And this is very common, and it is also common for you to possibly resent this man for not being so much, I categorize it a little bit as being in their manhood, in their manly protective provider role, in their pursuer role, again, I don't want to categorize. There might be just points of which they represent or live or are able to live. I'm not talking to women. I don't want to hurt any man who for whom this is the safest way to be, because he, as being the son of possibly a narcissistic mother, having had this kind of father who wasn't able to put limits, to really guide them, or being like on off, or disappearing a lot, or whatever it was. And I just want to say that the possibility also for us women to, I don't want to attack men here, by no means, for withdrawing in a way which we women don't like, you know, because you men don't like the way how we women treat with these things, you know, being at some points aggressive, being at many points not, you can't reach us, you know, us not having right boundaries, being on a depressive side, or being on a like too outcoming side, or being on a too, I'd say, too crazy side, too much managing, you know, too much controlling, you know. This is a huge part for men, when men can't come into their manhood because women are too controlling, of taking too much of this role of a man on, and not allowing ourselves to be receptive, to receive, to be pampered, to be protected, to be the ones who are open. Put it like this: we're open, vulnerable, you know, while we can be very strong, we're very intuitive, and we can become lions, and this is lionesses, you know, and this is not the problem. But the relating problem is why men would learn to be in a certain way, which is like, you like it or you don't like it. I know I get, you know, sometimes I get shit for it, but I'm sorry, you know. There's much research done on how are the roles when couples thrive, okay? And there's a very traditional role of men and women, and it has much to do with what I'm right now pointing out, you know. Men, besides of, you know, having many times only had a protective image of a man who would be aggressive, you know, who would be imponent, who would be like leading not with grace, you know, and obviously rejecting this kind of strong manhood. These are not strong men, you know. These are men who are leading out of their own hurt, their own damage, their own I say cut off, or masculinity, because it is not a just masculinity. It is not a just way of dealing in a protective manner with women, and being at the same time also open, man open in the same manner as a woman opens, you know. When you're in a partnership, in a relationship, in a marriage, a man goes only the 5 miles, you know, to open up as much as this woman does. You know, they always be like the reflector of us women in their emotional opening. You might like this or you don't like this. I love your comments. You can comment on this. So we're taking on roles when we are trying to overcome domestic abuse from narcissistic mothers. And it has much to do with how we have learned to take care of ourselves, and how we slip into and which roles. Yeah, I'm a woman, I will always be in a woman role, you know. There's a man, he's always going to be in a man role. But how he lives his identity and the picture he has of himself, now only regarding having grown up with a narcissistic mother, okay, just getting on into this line, it determines much how you choose. And we always choose how we are dealing with the people who are coming close to us, you know, who we say we let in, with the people we have intimacy with. Intimacy, into me, see, whom I allow to see into me, or even not, you know, how many layers I open up or don't open up. So, if you become aware of this absolute craziness, I'm not going to enlist in this video how this narcissistic mother was getting your world all crazy, being all grandiose, being all self-assured, being all entitled, being all aggressive verbally, or being all really trippy, like, excuse me, like fucking with your mind, really fucking with your mind, there's something we have to do, and this has much to do with healing, to us becoming healthy and understanding who is this essential part, who I am, and it keeps on being there. I insist. I always say, in our hearts there is a small place, a small flame, where sanity will always and still be and remain, regardless of what you have passed through, regardless. And you can always start building again around this flame, depending on how well of coping strategies you were equipped with, how different your environment was, how your chances were. There's many attributes which play into the game of how easier or not easier it is for you to recover, how you can build your identity, how you can build your life, how you can find meaning and sense of a worthy and a purposeful life, but you can always do it and you can always build it. But I tell you something, please don't forget this part. Be consistent and persistent, and you will do it. Believe me. I know people can say it's easy for me to say, maybe I am coming out of a rather established context, and I get it. But if you look at the people who have succeeded in life, it is not the ones who came well in the first beginning. All the different growth mindset is something which is for everybody, and it is more there where people dropped and were dropped, and decided to keep going despite of the chances, of the low chances for them to being successful in what they're trying. I just want to encourage you to really keep up with your vision. You need to develop. This is really beautiful. Check this out. You need to develop. This is really applied, and this is not so much about inner healing. I many times talk about this, being with yourself, doing self-love, doing rituals, doing this entire part of where you can't feel and touch, but I want to talk about this really applied part. If you develop a vision of yourself, of what you were meant to be, despite or in spite of all what had happened, your past doesn't determine you. You know this, right? And you might feel depressed here and now because of your past. But if you keep on looking into your past and trying to let this past determine you, if you are still on this role of, well, my mother did to me, my father did to me, my abuser did to me, my husband did to me, and this is why I can't keep going, get a new mindset. It is tempting to put it this way because you feel it that way, because it's true, it wants to pull you back. But understand that this is not stronger than your will, to succeed, to live your vision, and to live your goals. And you can't live your vision and your goals if you think only backwards, and if you assume that you can't, and if you let these ties, I said it in other videos, cut those damn ties, ping, to your abusers. And if you let those ties pull you back, I didn't say it's easy, I didn't say it's obvious, I didn't say it is lighthearted or something like this, but it's possible. Believe me, it's possible. You just need to apply techniques. Be this the technique to once and for all. I was talking about this in the forgiveness videos. Say what they have done to you. Be really decorative in this. Just write it down. It would be good for you to write it down. I know I have clients and they say I don't like writing down. And so don't do it, but do it in your head, and just, do it in your head. The better would be you write it down and you really take a month or two writing down. And if you do it for a week and if you do it for 2 days, I don't know how good it will work for you and where you're at right now. But write down what you need to write down, what really happened for you. Not what others say, not how others judge it, okay? Just write it down, what it was that hurt you so much, and this something where you say, this still pulls me back, this still fucks with my mind, excuse me please, this still is what determines my mind and my thinking. Forget about it. Forget about it. Don't believe it. It is there? Yes, it is there. Write it down. Put it decoratively, on a page and describe exactly what is going on, what was going on, what it does today, how it feels, how it felt back then, and read it to somebody who's really a support person for you, who will say, are you serious? Did she do that to you? And then when you say, did she do this to you? I'm talking about the narcissistic mother. You will make all the connections to all the other abuses and the different types of abuses you were also living in this context and later on for coming out of this context damaged. There's some work to do, I know this. But look, if you, I know you don't want to, but if you up until now really thought that this is all you can do to having to deal with the past, which is like pulling you back constantly, I can reassure you, your past only determines you as long as you let it. Did I say it's easy? No, I didn't say it's easy. I said it's a really, really deep work, but you need to do this work. And do you know why we don't want to do it? Because it hurts so much. Because there's a natural tendency, and it's really an adaptive, surviving tendency of human beings. We all have it. Just be calm, we all have it. To not wanting to go back to what hurt us so much that it would, mingle us up in our heads. And look, there's a really privileged thing going on that we connect for as long as this is active in our, what we suppress. And obviously then in our soul, in our mind, in our psyche, then this will come up in relationships. This will come up in relationships, you like it or you ain't. It will come up. You will always be or see in your conflicting relationships, put it like this, where you are having conflict, those conflicts are yours. It's not them. Just be sure to understand it is not them. There's always something I have to work on in my conflicts. You say, well, he's the conflicting party. He's coming up and he's saying this and this and this and that. Well, you can't manage it. Be honest. And that's because it's your problem. Okay, you pull it, you know. If you see a child, I said this the other day in a video, you have a child and this child has a temper tantrum, and because he wants whatever or she wants whatever, you know, and you're not gonna get all mingled up with this temper tantrum, you know. You're just gonna go there like a totally empowered adult, you know. You're gonna pick this child up, you know. You put it into place, you say you're done, you know, or you just hold it, you know, and say, what is it what you really need, my dear? You just manage that. And this is with all your conflicts too. And it still moves me. Like some of your comments of, I was talking about right now earlier in the video, how you as adults, women or men, are still being fucked with, excuse me, hope I'm not gonna get blocked here. I can do the boop if I would edit the video, what I'm not doing right now. In your head, with a person who isn't really even active in your life anymore. And this is a choice. Do you understand this? When I say this is a choice, you choose to. I know it's hard, you know. Suddenly you're saying, but I'm a victim and you want to be supportive of me. And now you're saying it is my choice and you're basically going up against me. Yes, I do. I'm challenging you. I'm challenging you to let go of what you put there on the paper. And from now on, and this is why this whole thing is so difficult, from now on, it's no longer her being responsible for your life, but from now on, it's going to be you being responsible for your life, for your well-being, for what you say, for what you think, for how you feel, for everything. I know this is not really like good news, you know. You're gonna be like, but how can I do this? You know, you can do it. You can do it. Do the inner work, write it down, have hopefully somebody you can read it to, and get rid of it. You said it, you knew it. Detect when it comes up again, but don't be caught on it on, you did this to me, you did this to me, you did this to me, and because you did this to me, I can't, you know, come up. Yes, it pulls you back. Yes, I know it does. But that doesn't mean that you can't overcome it. You can. Understand? You can overcome it. You are made to overcome it if you put your mind into it. For this, you need to understand who you really are. Get rid of everything she made you feel, she said to you, she understood of who and what you are, and develop from now on this identity of who you are. Strengthen yourself with this. Strengthen yourself with people around you who support you, and the more you're going to heal, the more you're going to be having people in your life who have also healed and which are becoming much more sensitive to you than people who are so raw and so blocked out in their own emotional hurt that they don't want to touch this, so they're more likely to like spit it out. Yeah. And the more you spit it out and just recognize it, you know, is because you haven't healed this part of how they treated you when they spit it on you. Do you get that? So, and as I said, it's not that it's not going to come up again. I told you that it's now not even a week ago that this mother, she's like somewhere there, she can do what she wants. I don't even care. Who cares what she's doing? I don't care. And she noticed energetically that I'm going to speak up to the world about narcissistic mothers. I didn't even know this would be having such an impact, you know. And she knew this, and she all sends me like this soothing classical music, and it's all spooky, and it was like trying to, control my mind or something, control me again. She can't. I know she can't, but it had a moment of spookiness. I don't say things won't come up again, but I say you're going to be perfectly capable of dealing with this in the measure you are going to heal. Okay? with all this impact now. I didn't open an English group. I'm having a Spanish women's group. I'm having a German men's group, and I'm going to open a group for people with a Facebook group with narcissistic mothers. I made this decision today when I was showering, and I want you folks to be in this community and to exchange. I watch it, but there won't come in somebody being like too weird for us. And I want to tell you that you can heal and that you need to heal. And I tell you, there's gonna be coming up always like new layers of this. But when you start healing, you start having this circle of support around you more and more. This is part of creating your new identity, that you get out of relationships where they pick you, and you get into those relationships where people are careful with you, where people listen to you, where you start listening to people, where you start listening inside of yourself. I don't say our ways are going to be perfect. It's an forevermore path in this life, to go there. Also, I would love to talk a little bit about my spiritual way. You guys know that I'm coming out of an evangelic pastor's family, and I was an atheist until I was 30. I was telling my poor pastor of really like a tiny community, like a tiny small town in Germany. When I was 14, I was about to receive my confirmation, and I was like to this man, I was like, I don't believe in God, I was totally clear on that. And from then on, I did get this. I walked my life until I was about 30. In 2001, I had after this whole marriage thing, I had with this marriage, it was also for me a vehicle. Just see also how these things are vehicles for you to become more sensitive to this darker world, which we are also having to deal with right now, right here on this earth, okay? So after 15 years of, I said my life long, of being really an atheist, because I didn't believe there was any God. Who would that be, who would allow that to happen? And then now there's people who are from different creeds, and there's people who don't believe in God and can't believe in God, and there's people, who can console themselves with energy, with the spirit, with the universe, which is perfectly fine for me. But for myself, I went, I said, by calling a way where I converted to Christianity again, to Catholic Christianity actually, and healing with and in prayer and doing deliverance prayers for myself was absolutely necessary, and doing intergenerational healing over prayers was absolutely necessary to really free these soul ties I was carrying with myself from holding me back. And there were people commenting, and I know this happens a lot also in these spiritual communities. And if there's people who are really, really fucking with you, excuse me, again, this word, I hope, YouTube is not going to pick this up, who are really messing with your mind, and if you feel like really controlled, let's say mind controlled from like these stupid people, start saying these, my God, they're such dumb people. I mean, I can't, I don't even want to relate to those people, and they're going to be out of your life at the moment you cut those ties psychologically, ritually, in a ritual where you really take off those ties which are holding you back, and the moment you heal, you stay with yourself. And please, just if you could, do prayers. You know, there's good communities, there's abusive Christian communities, you know, I know all kinds of, you know, these charismatic communities. You can find everything all over the place. Be in a safe place, be where people are very careful with you. I told you, for me, a safe, really safe place was the Catholic Church in the end, and I had go through all kinds of Christian denominations who were doing the deliverance work, and I don't want to say the Catholic Church is free of sin or something like this. I didn't say that. I said in the good parts of the Catholic Church, I was able to find a home for myself, and I am very aware of how much of a human institution our spiritual institutions are. So be calm. Choose what is good and right for you, but the spiritual healing will make a real difference for you. Just make sure you know that, you know. And I don't want you to fall prey to like spiritual healers and gurus and stuff like this. I really would like you to be safe there, you know. I was telling, like, you know, put this in one of the comments. There's a book from Father Ripperger, Deliverance Prayers. You can look this up. It's a little booklet. You can start up with this, or just choose a safe community, you know. Be very aware what's happening there. You're very much prone to fall prey to now similar dynamics. The more or the less you have healed from them, the more they are still active inside of you. There's really a danger for you to be caught in unhealthy dynamics. So I want you to be really careful with this. Besides me acknowledging that it was and stays to be what helps me up, what lifts up my life, what gives me purpose, what protects me, and do this. I will link. I don't have them translated into English yet. I think I did a recollection of prayers. I will link them when they're done in English. And until then, you can use the book of Father Ripperger. And yes, this is what I would really tell you to do. When we're talking about somebody really messing with you, with your mind as an adult, and sometimes it's ourselves messing with our minds, you know, that we allow things to be there, to think in a certain manner about the power we are giving to these people. It's just a habit, you know. You're just getting into habits there. So get out of those, you know. Start putting boundaries. Get into a prayer life where you really cover yourself with the blood of Christ, where you really, you know, evoke the archangels to be around you. And for me, it's also the Virgin Mary, you know, and which is a really important part, you know, in this whole mother relationship. But I respect the way you are going, but it can be very healing. This is scientific work, you know, that people who have passed or through heart surgery or through psychological things or through loss and grief, people or through trauma, through real like community damage and stuff like this, that people who are having strong faith in something above us, these people come out so much better. I mean, with this heart surgery, they were like measuring this. There's more scientific work on this, and they had like a better recuperation rate of 40%. I mean, this is huge, you know. And we often had this when people were held hostages, and or concentration camps. I mean, remember this, you know, people who had faith in God, you know, and had a prayer life, and people who didn't, they came out desperate, you know, they came out hopeless, they came out broken. And people who had developed a stronger faith in this process, it came out well. You know, you always have to deal with it. You know, it's not that it's not there anymore, but as long as you, I would say, like, clear out the you know, all this dirt out of this wound, you know, and let it heal, it's just a scar anymore. Yeah, it's a more sensitive part of your body, of your being, but it's not going to have the same influence as it would have if you wouldn't heal, if you leave it breaking open because you wouldn't clean it out. This cleaning out process is hurtful, is painful, but you just have to do this, you know, just do it. And now one more thing, if I say somebody messes with your mind, our minds are so powerful. Our minds are the ones who are determining what we feel. Feel is often just a body sensation, you know. It can be very general, or it is specific, and we give it meaning. But our minds are have so much agency in how we heal and how we keep on being good. I mean, the research about growth mindset and about people who have come out of, I mean, the most damaging situations. I mean, there's all kinds of testimonies of having physical, psychological, spiritual damage, just because you have passed through this. And the more damage it was, you know, the more you can, you have developed this strength to keep going and to now have, like acquire the tools to be able to find a path where you use your mind, use your decisions, use your vision, use your positive thinking, use your motivation, you know, to deal with your emotions. The emotions always want to go back, you know, and say you know, they want to stay and stuff like this. Develop this vision of who you are, or everything you have written out, who you are now in positive, or what you want to be. Just write down this vision board. Who holds you back? You, because you think you're anyways not going to make it. You will make it. I promise you. If you stick to it, and if you go through the process, which is a battlefield, you will. Of course you're going to come out of it. Just believe it. Use your mind to control your negative thinking, to control how you react to what is happening inside of you. If you believe, you know, when you feel depressed, if you feel angry, you feel this and that, to act on this, you know better than your narcissistic mother or any aggressor. You know better. So we're always like similarly human in the way we're functioning and in the tools we're having. I can be aggressive, you know. I have failed people. They're like, she did this to me. I didn't want to, you know, or maybe I wanted to because it made me feel better. We're pitiful beings. Do you understand? That if you understand that you have failed people, you will understand that you are obliged to let go of what she did to you and he did to you and everything she keeps on having in a tail. And to forgive and to let go. To say what it was and how it affected you, and then to let go. It's an everyday thing. You can check my Instagram. I'm trying to build this channel too. It's an everyday thing. To let go and let go and let go. If you pasture on these thoughts of you did to me and it was all that bad and I can't get over it, you haven't done your work, you know, writing down what it really was, what affected you, what it really was, what hurt you so much, and to envision a new way and to really now control yourself. I don't want you to control your feelings. If you need to go and sit and cry once a day or every hour for the next, I don't know, 2 weeks or 2 months, well, do it. do it. But know what you're crying for and about. Sometimes we don't know. You know what you're sad about. Well, grieve it. Grieve it away. And then you get, little by little, get going. You need to get out with those emotions. There's no question. But you can't ride on them. You can't keep them. This is what I'm holding on to, and this is what justifies my pitiful existence here. No. You are the creator of your life. There's going to be obstacles, there's going to be hindrances, there's going to be everything what you didn't want to be there. Yes, it's going to be there. Yes. And so, learn to live with gratitude. Praise the little things. Be thankful for the little steps you've been able to go. Make a diary, a gratitude diary of everything you can be grateful for every day. Do this every day. When you wake up in the morning, say thank you. Feel this. Practice this. Of this feeling really thankful. It's not, don't say thank you for the light, thank you for the sun, no, feel it. Feel really thankful for whatever you were able to do today, and if it was to breathe and to just be there, or to just being able to see this video. And then you amplify this and understand that the more thankful you feel for anything that comes up in your life, the more you will grow, because the more you will have this growth mindset that you say, this must have been here for a purpose. You would say, a narcissistic mother, this can't be for a purpose, the damage this has caused on us. It is not that it is for a purpose. Now you start being purposeful with what happened to you. This is not heaven on earth here. But you will always get the tools you need, if you want to, if you decide to get out of the most horrific situations of total loss inclusively. Okay? Of total loss of everything. Yeah? So if you get into this mindset, don't get stuck in this, how come? How could it be possible that this, and how could we get out of this halfway sane? You did, you're here. Okay? Keep going, keep strengthening yourself, keep creating purpose for yourself. What did this all teach me? What do I have to learn from now on? How do I need to manage my emotions, and especially how I think about things? And can I develop, little by little, a vision for myself of what my little tiny purpose is here in this life? You don't have to become the president of, you don't want to even, you are enough. And if you understand that you are enough, that you are a beloved being, a beloved child of God, you believe it or you don't, start believing that despite of all the things which are happening in your life, He sees, He loves you, He wants you to thrive. He left many things in the hands of mankind. It's known. Okay, but He said, you call on me and I will answer. So do it. Okay, thanks for listening. I love you much, folks. Just had to get that down. This is complex. I know you're suffering much also listening to those videos, and I'm happy to have this community. It gave me a real piece of life back, a piece of purpose back, to which kind of community I'm serving to, and this was really I wanted to talk a little bit about my way, how I freed myself from this mother one more time in life, how I afterwards opened up these YouTube channels, And at the moment I was on accident, I'd say, wanting to do this video on narcissistic moms. This crazy woman gives me this call, calls me on WhatsApp, and is only playing like this classical soothing music, and it was the trippiest thing in the world, and I was like, I know I'm right now. She wants to even like prevent me from doing this, and you know who works behind that, You know the dark forces. Send you much love, and if you want to, you can subscribe. I'm happy to have you, and I talk to you later. Bye bye.